My name is Juanita Johnson. I'm the chairperson for the 24th Street Corridor Alliance. And just to give you guys a broad overview of what the Alliance is about, it is connecting business and neighborhoods that are adjacent and on 24th Street North from Cummings to Ames. And our purpose is, again, to unify these entities so that we can have a collective body when we have issues of concern as well as economic growth. At this time, since we're at 11:45 and we would like to end this about 1 o'clock, I'd like to introduce to you Julie Smith, and she is the program manager for One Omaha. And today our topic will be leadership and communications with the local officials here in Omaha, Nebraska.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited because first I'll let you guys know what the context of this discussion is about. One of the mission of One Omaha is to actively develop and facilitate the development of neighborhoods through education, communication, and advocacy. And what we're going to do hits on two of those things with communication and advocacy. So One Omaha has gone and done some facilitated discussions on this specific topic. How do we better communicate between the city departments and our elected officials as neighborhood groups? And we've had the discussion at the South Omaha Neighborhood Alliance. We've had the discussion at the Midtown Neighborhood Alliance. So now I'm glad that we can come to North 24th Street because I think I've just got a little feeling, a little bias that we're going to see a lot of the same factors through the different alliance areas. Once we get it done with Northwest, or at least just one more alliance, then we will take all the data and present it to the city officials as like a unified voice amongst the alliance groups. So what we're going to do is just a real basic facilitation process where everybody's first going to write down answers as individuals, and then we'll share them in a small group and see what we have the most consensus on, see what people agree on the most about how we could better improve communications. I'm sure everyone in the room knows that there could be some improvements, but then we'll also touch on if we have any positive examples of good communication with the city so that we can try to emulate those in the future. But first I wanted to do an icebreaker because we're all going to be talking. So if everybody could think about why or something that makes them proud to be a stakeholder or a resident in North Omaha. If there's something that makes you proud and show pride in being a stakeholder of North Omaha. It could be a thing, it could be a feeling, however you want to answer it. It's up for interpretation. So, who am I going to pick on first? What's something that makes you proud to be a resident and a stakeholder at North Omaha?
That's a strong presumption.
Yes, it is.
The reason why I'm involved is because I'm not.
Okay.
And that's based upon, you want elaboration?
Sure.
That's based upon even now the most recent description of the history of this area and how blatantly it has been abused by the governmental structure and the major population group to the date point that it is a gentrified area that has left a large segment of the population disregarded and has the audacity to highly promote and facilitate other populations that are not native to this area with certain amenities that they have refused to facilitate to the original population.
Yeah.
So I'm not at all pleased in not only individual stakeholder but the overall stakeholder treatment.
Yeah. I hear ya. We could always change the icebreaker too. Does anybody else want to? Because I also am like, what are you feeling grateful for right now? So if you don't want to tell me something that you are proud to be a part of North Omaha, tell me something you're grateful for. So what's something you're grateful for?
That I've been living in this area since 1947. I know it well. I know its history. I have been, I'll say, blessed to maintain enough memory to facilitate conversation in a form of reality that normally probably wouldn't get taken place.
I agree. I'm grateful that you can do that too. How about you, Jarrett? Is there anything that you're proud of North Omaha, or just something that you're grateful for in general?
Well, I'm grateful to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I've been out in the loop for a while, in the effort to try to get back in the loop.
There you go.
I'm grateful that I think this is probably a good start.
Mm-hmm. I'd say so. How about you, King?
Oh, I'm grateful for the low taxes, homeowner taxes. I'm thankful for the development in North Omaha. It's so convenient. There's very little traffic. I love that. I can leave my house and get to anywhere in town. I can get to anywhere in North Omaha in 5-10 minutes. 5 minutes, really. The people, I grew up in a generation where, well, I've been here my whole life, so the people that I know, the relationships that I have are life relationships. So it's a nice, quiet life in a city that's just bigger than a town. Mm-hmm. North Omaha reminds me of another town. Yeah, I mean, you go West Omaha, Papillion, or La Vista, or Gretna, or Bennington. They have their towns. Benson, North Omaha, they're just about the same.
Cool. How about you, sir?
So grateful just to be above ground.
First off.
And I guess the next thing is that I see a lot of opportunities. Been here before, done all that. And the most important thing is starting to get people to start paying attention from a grassroots level from North Omaha again. There's a lot of challenges, but I like challenges. I don't like for other people. I always had a saying that I don't want you to work for me if you can't work with me. I don't want you to speak for me if you can't speak to me. Mm-hmm. So that's been my philosophy, and I don't want you to do nothing for me. I can do it for myself. Right. And my whole thing is the city may not know I'm here, but I know I'm here. And as long as I live in Omaha, then I want the same thing in any other neighborhoods down here. So I think somebody just said it a few minutes ago, the gentrification of this community, that's always been the plan. Mm-hmm. But now we're starting to see the reality of it. But we've always been people that has always worked for what we want. What they usually do is keep the information away from us. Right. So we have to go out and get the information ourselves. We had to learn how to work on it locally, state, and national. And can't have no attitude that you can't do it. You got to do it for yourself. And you never let the city leave you outside. The biggest thing right now that I see is legality. We done threw enough bricks and rocks. Now you got to sit at the table and negotiate. Mm-hmm. And so when you come to the table, you got to know what negotiations are all about. You just can't let people get you psyched up or psyched out.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be that, then you have to be the psycher and the psycher out.
Nice.
That's how I carry it. I don't carry it no other way. And the biggest thing about us is that we let too many negative things get in our way. We don't sit in the room and plan what we want to see.
Right.
You know, this to our kids, that when they come in here now, they don't see anything, but I see the future here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and from a black perspective, a lot of folks don't want to hear that. Black is not the color of your skin; it's the concept of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so my thing is, what do I want to see here? This is a beautiful community. I could walk out of one bar here and walk over there. If I could walk out of one restaurant here, I could walk over there to another one. If you want to see North Omaha in the old days, go up to Benson.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you want to see North Omaha in the old days, 24th and Lake Street, all up and down this whole corridor, go to Benson. So,
Cool.
The thing that makes me proud to be a stakeholder here is the long history and the depth of the culture of this corridor is a longer history than Benson, longer history than a lot of other established areas, and just the architecture and just the, you know, from my understanding of going way back, you know, there has been periods where there's been integration and vitality and a lot of activity, and it probably hadn't been like that for 50 or 60 years, but hopefully it can be like that in the future. And you know, I think some of the tragedy in this neighborhood also makes it more beautiful because it's more real to a lot of people. I guess for me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that's more human because we're not, you know, as compared to West Omaha or something that's, you know, polished and perfect and,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
this has a more human
Right.
history that's real, and I think that makes it more, in a way, more romantic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to.
I see where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm happy about it.
Cool. Well, I'm proud to be a stakeholder just because you guys took the time to come here today and work collectively with us. I'm very appreciative of Julie being here to provide us with information on leadership and how we can best go forward. Those are my two exciting things that I like
Cool.
about being a stakeholder.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and then I should have said this is just one series. We're doing strategy workshops with the different neighborhood alliances, and this is just one series where we're talking about advocacy and breaking down those barriers of communication between city departments, elected officials, and neighborhood groups. So what we're going to do, I'm going to time you. Does everybody have a pen
Uh-huh.
and a notepad? What we're going to do is I want you guys all to take some time to reflect on these questions and record your answer. And it doesn't have to be too in-depth. We'll just think about it for like 5 to 10 minutes. I don't want to bore you guys right at the beginning. So 5 to 10 minutes, if you could think about these questions. Starting off, what would you like to see the city of Omaha improve when it comes to letting neighbors know about projects that are planned for your neighborhood? What could be improved when the city of Omaha is trying to talk about projects that are being planned for your neighborhood?
How many questions are there going to be?
5. Just these 5.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem. And these questions were developed by South Omaha neighborhood leaders. So I don't think that it was me that came up with them. Hi there. Welcome.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
All right.
Good, good. Can you get through?
We're just doing some strategizing on how we would like to be communicated with as neighbors and residents from the city of Omaha, whether it's city departments or elected officials. And here's a notepad. Do you have a pen? You do? Okay, good, because I ran out.
There's a line on me.
And then I'm going to have you and Jarrett share this sheet. We're just taking 5 to 10 minutes right now to answer these questions as individuals, and then we'll talk about them in small groups. And there's no answers that are wrong, too. I should have said that. Like, this is a very open-minded, safe space. Anything you feel, you're not going to be judged about. The ideas can be as wild and crazy as you want them to be.
Are you going to break up into groups to deal with each one of these individually, or how are you going to do that?
What do you think I should do? I'm open. We could, as how I've done it before, we've split into groups to go over all of them, but we could split up into groups to go over one by one, however you want. And I'd say we've got enough people that we do need to split up into 2 small groups. But I'll let you decide how we do.
I'm not the one, because I'm too negative. Because I don't.
Oh.
There's such a tremendous disconnect
Yeah.
between what the city does in other parts of this town as opposed to what they do here,
Agreed.
that all of this is just totally based. So there is no communication lines with the city of Omaha in this community.
Yeah.
So it makes everything else a blur.
Gotcha. So maybe we should just start with the first initial questions before we can get into the rest.
I
We can
think
do it that way.
we have a good number here to do it like that. I'm just, you
Yeah.
know,
I'm for it. Does anyone feel strongly opposed
To what?
to focus on the first 2 questions first? Because, like you said, like communication is so
non-existent.
non-existent that we can't really get into 3 through 5.
That's true.
Let's do that. So once everybody's done with questions 1 and 2, look up or start talking to your neighbor, and then we can go to the next part.
You guys
If it wasn't so, am I monopolizing? You know, somebody, all right.
No, this is what this is all about.
All right.
I'm glad you're talking.
If it wasn't so blatant and historical, the city of Omaha purposely shut down the neighborhood organizations that were created by a community-based organization. And it was systematically done for the reason of having no communication lines. All right, so they wouldn't have to be responsive to any of the needs of this community, which are historical. It is our belief that, based upon their Model Cities Proposal Plan that was instituted in 1967, that they had to have this dormancy in order for them to facilitate their initial goal of making this part of downtown Omaha, which is happening at this present time. And that has been the removal of the Logan Fontenelle projects, the transferring of that population out of the total area, the removal of a lot of the housing units and that population out of this area, the blatant non-development of transportation systems in this community, so that people weren't able to move logistically through and make it possible for them to earn livings.
Black redlining.
That's all historical. The redlining, the banks loaning situations. We've had large so-called professional groups approach the city to ask them to be a part of the conversation with the banks as it applies to community reinvestment acts. Never has happened. Okay, so it's so blatant and so obvious and so pervasive right now. But their plan is, because if they done sewer separation. Sewer separation was mandated in 1970. Okay, they didn't get onto it until the government told them, not only are you going to do it, but we're not going to pay you to do it. And that's why the gas prices. The gas prices in this area are much more higher than anywhere else because the homes aren't weatherized. Okay? So that population, just to pay your gas bill will put you out, which caused for a lot of homes to be vacant. When the gas company made the new stipulation that the gas bill goes on the house, as opposed to whoever took the gas bill out, they put it automatically on the landlord. And any population that is used to usury, they will take advantage of. They'll move in and leave and they ain't got to worry about it no more. All those kinds of things, because of a lack of communication with the civic leader, purposely, has caused for us to be in the situation that we're in right now, where they feel it comfortable in not even having to communicate with us at this point in time.
Right. Yeah. And I see that too. I see the channels of communication that they do have really well established, that they're very proud of. I think that there's a whole lot of room for improvement. Like, I'm a neighborhood leader, and I'm still on the books to be a neighborhood leader in my old neighborhood. And just this last week, I got a letter about zoning changes, and the fact that the city's sending out those notification letters. They take so much pride in it. The only reason why it's put in place anyways is because a neighborhood leader from South Omaha, who was a state senator, put it on state law that when there are changes, the neighborhood associations can be notified. But that letter, I have a master's degree in urban studies, and that letter is so hard for me to understand. I don't understand how anyone else. And it touched on something that you said during the icebreaker, where people don't know how to go get that information, but when they are using their resources to put out information, when it's that complicated and convoluted, then people feel like they just don't have the skills to interact and communicate with the city. So how about, before I keep going on my soapbox, how about we split up into two groups to talk about your first question's answer? And you guys can split up into groups however you want. I counted off people in Midtown because I didn't want to.
I think that to me, it would be just usually everybody because we don't.
Should we all just have a group
Small
discussion?
numbers.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think?
And
What?
then all we gotta do is remember our time.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't want, see, I get to talking, so somebody needs to put their hand up.
Okay, cool. Okay.
You just have to moderate.
Yeah, we'll see how well I do that.
Right, right.
So how about we just go down like one by one and give our answers for number one. And then when we're done answering number one, I'm going to ask you guys what things stood out. What were the things that were spoken most frequently? Because it's all about finding consensus. I know everybody has their individual views in the room, but I know that we all have shared understanding and that we can come together on a few certain points. So that's what we're going to find out. So Anita, since you're on the end of the line, what did you say for number one?
Well, I have 3 points. Notification of projects with details about the what, when, and why. Include the neighborhood about the decisions being made on all things prior to brick and mortar. And then give opportunities to existing businesses within reason.
And as people are going through and answering, if you want more clarification on something, so that we know exactly what the person's trying to communicate, then please speak up. And I was actually going to ask you. So you said notification. What was the second one?
Include the neighborhood about the decisions being made on all things prior to brick and mortar. Mortar, yeah.
Include the neighborhood on decisions. So how do you see that, like in visually, like if you think about it, how do you see yourself being included in the decision making?
Well, for example, let's say we're going to have a liquor or a bar opening in the Long School area. I would like for the city to talk to stakeholders that are immediately that would be immediately impacted by that bar. To be communicated with to see or get an input on what their take is on that.
Right.
Currently, that doesn't happen.
Well, then I'm just going to kind of like draw out stuff from these first couple questions. Like, so when you say talk to the neighborhood, in what way? What method should the city take when they're going to have communication and talk with you about stuff?
They could have a meeting, or they could put proposals on their website, to invite those that have additional questions, or a forum, use Facebook to engage in some discussions on possibilities.
Those are all, I think that sounds very reasonable. That's good. How about you, Ben? Question number one.
Listening to what everybody's saying here, I think if we're talking about, many millions of dollars for a community, for sewer separation project, or for the economic incentives that would potentially be eligible here, I don't know how it would be so horrible to have somebody with a modest salary in the city of Omaha who was a community development liaison or advocate for this area, and just have a small commercial space occupied down here that is basically somebody who would help facilitate, and they would be graded transparently by their peers, which would be their peers would be like the business owners, residents, and property owners. And just have that be some type of, all of that information be available on an open page on the Douglas County City of Omaha website. Even if it was 20 hours a week that it was open, and then they had posted hours, and the goal was to help facilitate grassroots reinvestment. And I would say that for this area to maintain the character that it does have remaining, that there would be some type of preferential treatment or consideration for existing or historical residents, landowners, business owners, stakeholders.
Basically, what he just said is what NOCD was all about. We had our own headquarters. What was we at? Right here on 24th and Charles. We had that here. The people could walk in off the street, find out what we were doing. The next thing when we say communication is a two-way street. I don't need the city talking to me. I need to talk to the city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's basically where I'm at. I need to know what the planning department's got planned for this area.
Right.
I need to know when can I meet with the planning director. What departments are within the planning director, within the city, that can help me get my program together?
Right.
How do I go about getting the grant, getting the city to write a comprehensive plan for this whole area, and me in it, not you telling me what you're gonna do, with us sitting at the table talking about what we want to see done. You know, that's how it works with me. Then the next thing is that if we're gonna really get into this and we're gonna really develop and lead part of this area that can go downtown and talk to the city, and that when you say talk to the city, knowing each one of the departments, knowing when you should go, that does not only just mean the city here, that means the commissioner, okay? That means going down to the state, down to the governor's place, finding out who you talk to there. Then actually putting somebody on a plane to go to Washington, D.C. to talk to somebody there, to let them know that you know what you want done. The next thing over there is getting some legal folks in here that will sit with you pro bono and tell them that you want to sue the city because of their past doing. So that can be a negotiating point to get some things done here. And just because you got one city councilman that think they run this area now, you're going to have to talk to us.
Right.
You know, and we need to know what we're going in the room to talk about. You know, you're right on. We have to have some strong voices. That's really we don't sit back and let nobody plan for us. We plan for ourselves, then we go down and work with you, make sure these plans are implemented.
Awesome. KK.
Well, communication. Oh boy, I've been here for a long time. I've heard communications from this study and that study and this steering committee and this program, and all it was talk and meetings and talk and meetings. And I would go to these meetings, and then all of a sudden they would have this individual appointed over this committee. And I didn't know this person. I'm born and raised here. I wouldn't know this person from a can of beans. Now, how did he get appointed over this steering committee?
Right.
And now he's over the something else. And anyway, talk. Never any money. Never any way to get money for the area.
Right.
they never gave us any kind of direction after we spent all these hundreds of hours, thousands of hours meeting and talking, filling out questionnaires. Talk is all we've ever gotten. We've talked, and they've gotten money, and they never used it to develop this area, even though they get money for this area. Our sewer, it's not just the gas prices, it's we're paying for the infrastructure every month. We pay, I stopped using gas. It was my summertime, I wasn't using gas, but my gas bill was $200. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get space heaters for my shop. And that was 3 years ago. I haven't touched the gas down here since. That's another little victory. But anyway, the communication with any kind of planning department, any type of city council member that wants to beat his own chest, and I've done this. He said that before. I did this. I made this happen. Well, that's not a win. A win is getting us involved letting us know what's coming down the road. Maybe we can have some interjection because you don't know it all.
Right.
Especially, the little tiny little business owners like us.
Right.
We'd appreciate a deal to get us up to 75 North or anything else that's coming down the pipeline. We never know. By the time we hear about it, they're already digging out the footings. It's all done.
And when you say let us know, how do you want people to let you know?
Oh, they can let me know by a phone call. I'm easy to reach. They can send me a postcard down here. We're gonna you can email, phone, text, have a meeting.
Yeah.
We can just have a townhouse meeting. We're gonna have a townhouse meeting concerning this, and I bet you people will come out, get away from their TVs, and come down there and check it out.
Cool.
So,
Awesome. Anything else to add?
no, just mad. Just
How about,
angry.
how about you, Jared?
Well, all I wrote down was actually let us know.
Letters?
And
Actually let you know.
well, yeah. So, and ahead of time, and I have living here on 24th Street. I have received letters of what has been done, but never notice where we're going to discuss it or anything like that. You know, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a reassessment of your taxes. Like Kay was talking about the gas. I pay for sewers that they never had to rebuild because I live in these new townhouses up here.
Mm-hmm.
That should have never even been in the expense. And I pay an average of $60, $70 a month for the sewer thing.
Right.
I mean, my gas bill, $9 and something, and then an additional $60, for that plus tax on each item in there, water, sewer, the whole thing. So I'm ended up paying $200,
My mom.
and
And you use nothing.
nothing.
No.
But the way I understand it is that, well, as long as we do it for everybody, you really can't complain. Okay, that's one. I would like to see the city planning department, the city development department, the land bank department visit each neighborhood's meeting and answer questions. To me, I think that this would be the start of open communications, because as low as our ideas are, and heightened ideas, they're really great ideas. But I can't pretend that I've been working in this community but 5.5, 6 years. But during that time, I have heard every piece of history, every piece of what we want, and seen none of it. None of it has been into production. I think what we need to do is right here in this room here, we have enough know-how and power to affect those changes that we actually, and it basically the same as it coming around, just adjustables. We have enough in this room, just this room alone, to effect those changes that we want done. But we have to put together a plan.
Right.
You understand? A plan, and then recruit our subordinates under each leadership on a group goal. First we achieve the goal, and then take all of the ideas on how to achieve that goal and mash them.
Yeah.
I was talking to a couple of the community leaders, I'll just put it like that, and I said, we all basically want the exact same thing. But just like the rich kid in the neighborhood, I grew up poor. And just like the rich kid in the neighborhood, well, if I can't beat a pitcher, then I'm going to take my batting ball and go home.
Right.
This is what's stopping us right very now from achieving anything other than sitting around here in these meetings talking about what we want. It's the same thing we've been wanting ever since I've been involved. What's keeping us from doing that is because everybody, if I can't do it my way, then I'm not going to do it. No, this is just straight out the truth.
Is that true for you? If you can't do it your way, will you not participate?
No, I'm not.
You're willing to give?
I have the idea, and I have been a total failure up to this point, of bringing everyone together with their ideas and figuring out a way to mash all those ideas together.
Yeah.
This is the reason that I think that the 24th Street corridor is a very good idea. You know, for the simple reason that you have people from different positions, etc., that have power in their position, like you. You know what I'm saying? You have power in your position. We need. Yes,
really,
you do.
Sharon.
Wait, yes, you do.
You will use your power.
I'll go with it.
No. In your position, but I did not say no one leader has the power to get done what we all agree we want done.
I completely agree.
But together, what we need is a plan to form a conglomerate of all of the leaders.
Right.
And figure out a way to match all of the ideals, the history, and all together. And this will create a power structure. This will create a power structure that City Hall will not make a move without our permission.
Yeah.
You understand? Because they want to stay in the little power that they think they have, but the people actually have the power.
Agreed.
Awesome. Good. All good points, Jarrett. How about you, Jesse?
Yeah. First of all, I want to apologize for being late. I had another engagement this morning that ran over. But back to the first question, it says, what would you like to see the city improve upon when it comes to informing the neighbors about projects that are planned for their neighborhood? And everything that's been said so far, I am in agreement with. And I think that my core idea and my core point was articulated by Jarrett. And so it's basically the same thing. We talk about what's been done, what hasn't been done, how it's been done, how it hasn't been done. But rarely do I hear us as a community, as a neighborhood group, as an organization that's interested in pushing this community forward. Rarely do I hear statement about what we can do.
Right.
We all know that we live in a political society. We live in a political environment, and politicians will do what they're forced to do.
Exactly.
And if we decided to harness our power and give direction to those who've been elected or appointed to represent us, then I think we would get more, a lot more of what it is we feel we need and what we should be getting. So until we, well, let me say it like this. My urgent desire is to have every resident of the North Omaha community recognize and understand the power that they have and get together and unify and exert that power to get what's needed for the community. Until that happens, we're going to continue to get what we've been getting for the last 200 years. Now,
Amen.
to get back to the question about what can the city do, I would like to see the city do. One thing that they can do is kind of superfluous a little bit, but since they're all about going through the motions, I think they've done a lot of lip service to establishing relationship with neighborhood associations and neighborhood umbrella associations. But I think that need to get away from the lip service and actually put some action in there. And perhaps the mayor can appoint one of our staff people to be a liaison to go directly to each neighborhood association.
Yeah.
Provide the information that's pertinent to them, and then also be able to take information from those associations back to the mayor's office to create and generate the conversations that's needed for those groups.
Very good. And we're getting close because I want to have plenty of time for us to figure out action steps based off of all of our points. So do you want to answer the question too?
No disrespect to the prior answers
Yeah.
or to the question.
Okay, good.
I had a very rude awakening to the point that I was almost called breathless, speechless. And that was at a 24th Street corridor meeting 2 months ago. A young African American male, middle income, just hired recently by the Union for Contemporary Arts to be their communication manager. I was always surprised about that particular title, being a communication manager. What shocked me was that in putting an issue to a point, I asked him, did he think the gentrification was put in place? And he, without any hesitation, told me yes. Now, y'all may not know why I was breathless behind that. Because if you understand the term gentrification, then you will understand that all of this is done over, has no position at all. Because the traditional population, not the original population, the second population in this area, has been, for all practical purposes, removed. You have less than 40-some thousand African American blacks in this city. That won't even cover up half of the football stadium down in Lincoln. Of that population, the largest part of that are young people have gotten out of this town, gone somewhere else. Because it's been stated by the young black professionals that this is not a place for young blacks to be if they want to be, all right. So when we say gentrification, all of this is for naught. It's all a done deal. Okay? The city has already not communicated because they had no plans on communicating because their mandate has already been laid down by the city of Omaha, the founders, and Creighton University. Now that Creighton has stepped across the street, which is close to 30 years late, they were supposed to have been developing 30 years ago. But they were unable to do that because the population was not gone. And they always test that by sending their athletes up and down Lake Street. They do their males to run up and down 24th Street to start off with. Then if they really want to test it, they use their female basketball players. And when you see them running up and down 24th Street, then they consider it as somewhat safe. Okay? Only recently has that happened.
Correct.
There is nothing that the city of Omaha can tell us. But they made one serious mistake because they asked us to do something for them, which means that's a hole in their pocket. And that is to give them all the information they need to put on the survey due in April. That means that someone is asking them to prove what they're asking for.
Right.
What they're asking for is the federal government to come in and do no less than match the money that they have to do the redevelopment of this area with the underlying understanding that the major population has been removed from there. There's only one action that, if you have any care about I hesitate because when I say cultural significance, even we're confused about the cultural significance of this area. If we don't get the federal government to question the use of prior community block grant money, then it's a done deal and there ain't nothing we can do about it because it is out of the city's hands and it is in a much larger scale right now.
Would you mind if I asked you a question?
Please.
Not having gone through any of the history that you've gone through and not understanding it, I would think, because I've developed property on 24th and Hardy, and I can't say that I understand your outrage, but I'm listening to it. I don't know who I would be able to go to and get a productive result with that. Like, the best I can do is like, let's make a deal. What do I need to do to get permission to do this plan that I want to do? Or like, do it anyway, and how much are you going to fine me if you don't like it? Literally, like, that's my whole, for everything that I've accomplished, it's one of those two avenues. And so you're talking about a third avenue, which is some type of recognition for past injustices.
Not recognition. Legal mandates that have been identified to restore those so-called past wrongs.
Restore?
You're not going to find that advocate in existing government. You would have to find like a massive
You're not going
law
to.
firm
We're
or
not.
something
We're
like that.
we're not. We're not going to find that in America. Period.
I just don't think there's going to be the justice that you're asking for.
You're absolutely correct.
And so how can we move past that? Like, I'm not saying that to forget it or anything, but like, what could we realistically ask for or expect?
Just the fact that it entered your mind, so you had to change that. The way that you put it shows the difficulty right there. You don't understand.
I'm not saying I do understand it. I'm
Right.
saying that you're
Yes.
talking about a third approach.
No, I'm talking about an only approach. The next approach is to let this country really know that we matter. But we as the people aren't ready for that either. Because we are under that same illusion that you are under, except that we just don't have the external capabilities to be rational as it applies to whether we use the money or not, because we don't have any money. By mandate. Okay, and I've everybody in here, I've told you, I participate in this because I hope that you are successful, but I know that you're not, because ain't nothing gonna change, because it doesn't matter. They're gonna do it the way they want to do it anyway. The city of Omaha purposely destroyed neighborhood organizations, shut them down, removed the department head that was in charge of it, and never opened it up again.
Now they keep saying, like Mayor Stothert ran, that they were going to open up a neighborhood planning section. And One Omaha's been all over, what are you guys going to do in this neighborhood planning section? And now they say it's going to start in January. Like, you know, these ideas and this kind of, these communication things we need to fix between neighborhood groups. You would think that that's what the neighborhood planning section is, but
No,
it's not.
we've got on tape. We've got on tape in the hearing that the city put on. They testified on tape without even hesitating or studying or doing whatever that they have not been able to communicate to 70% of this community since 1997. Have not thought about putting anything into place to do that. Knowing just about the biggest mistake right off the bat is that you can't have a neighborhood organization in a population that is 70% renters. That's unheard of. There's no European population anywhere around here that would ever think about getting a neighborhood organization, and 75% of that population are renters. Why do they do it here? Because 85% of the population are renters from historical activity, because you couldn't buy property.
Right.
Now we're gonna skate all by all that. We're gonna skate by that there was red line from Benny to where? What did you say? Benny to Bedford? Benny to Parker. By law. Same people that run the city downtown put it in law that you had to go to this school, you couldn't do that, you couldn't do.
Is it the same people that are currently in office?
It's the same. It's the same consciousness. It's the same consciousness because it has not changed.
Well,
Brother Eliza, I would like to say that we cannot change. I'm going to agree with you that we cannot change what's already been done. In fact, we can't even change what you just said. But what we can do is put our heads together.
You ain't got no heads to put together.
We got your head.
You ain't got my head.
We got his head.
I don't believe in what you're talking
We got
about.
his head, and his head.
Who else believes what he's talking about?
Put these heads together. Wait a minute. Let me please finish my statement.
Go ahead.
I'm not talking about sitting around talking about what we can't do and what we ain't being able to do and what we used to do. I'm talking about putting our heads together.
What heads?
The people in this room is enough
Not me.
to
I
come
won't
up
be
with
there.
a plan.
I won't be there.
It's okay. Okay? You don't have to.
All right. Who else is going to be there?
well, one of my points that I'd like to make as we segue into the last 15 minutes is that I'm 29 years old. I was born and raised in Omaha. I meet people that have just as much energy, passion, hope, and optimism as I do that do live in North Omaha. But you know what they don't have? And what I don't have is the institutional knowledge that the people in this room have.
Absolutely.
One thing One
And that's
Omaha
what we
tries
need.
to do all the time is bridge that generational gap, because there are people that are millennials that want to stay in Omaha and specifically want to see North Omaha thrive, but we don't know how to do it, and we need the experience. But if you guys, I'm just looking right at you, if you lost hope, then if I bring a young person for you to mentor, they're going to move out of Omaha faster than...
what does generation have to do with this particular subject?
The thing that generation has to do with this subject is this generation is, and I'm not talking, it's not my place to necessarily speak for my whole generation, but I think a lot of people want to understand the past better and are open to doing things.
What do you mean the past?
Like redlining. I just met this 20-year-old girl the other day, and I told her that I worked with North Omaha Neighborhood Association. She was like, "Do you know about redlining?" It was like she had just learned
Question.
You found out about
redlining.
it and then
Yeah.
perpetuate it. That's
Right.
what's most important. This generation don't necessarily want to perpetuate the sins of their past generation.
Right.
What did Habitat for Humanity just get through doing?
Yeah, but that's not like.
We could have a whole nother strategy
Well, her
workshop on
point
Habitat
is
for
this, that
Humanity.
like we're not Habitat for Humanity.
We were talking about redlining.
Right.
Can I say something?
What did Habitat for Humanity just get through doing?
I don't know what
They just
what they
do
do.
that.
What's going on?
Can I have the floor for just a couple of seconds?
Sure.
You young brothers is what we're looking for. It's what I'm looking for. Because you have my attitude. I don't give a damn about what they say downtown. It's about what I'm going to do here. The Blue Line Center wouldn't be sitting there if we had that attitude.
Yeah.
Okay? That whole little oasis there wouldn't have had that. But I hear what my brother's saying. There's some past mistakes that need to be corrected. But in the meantime, we got to move forward. We got to come in here and set some plan. Nobody comes in here and tell us a damn thing except for what we want to tell them.
Right.
When we talk about communication, it's a two-way street. You just ain't going to talk to me. I'm going to talk to you. What is your position here, Mayor? What is your position over here? The ultimate thing of it was that when we started dealing with people, dealing with the feds, I knew Charlie Hill personally. Because I would stand up in meetings, do just what you're doing, and start opening my mouth and start talking. So when he did it, he brought the rigs here and showed us how to go through them. We were just brothers off the street. So we created all of that. What happened to us, it wasn't, we had an organization. Basically, it was just about 5 of us. And we started going to the community. When we got ready to have a neighborhood here where folks don't want to hear this history, it wasn't no neighborhoods. So hell, we went out and created them ourselves. We would be sitting down in Marty Schuker's office.
I'm talking about.
Okay, we'd be sitting down and talking to the mayor. We would go and find out the commissioner. We would go down, Charlie Thone, we had a meeting with Charlie Thone, who was the governor at that time. He was going to give us 15 minutes. We walked in 19 strong. He gave us an hour and 45 minutes. And the basic thing in the meeting, we don't want you to do a damn thing for us. We'll do it for ourselves. But we need some of these tools you got here to help us move those boulders that's in our way.
Right.
The police couldn't come in our community because we patrol the police in the community. That's history, you know what I'm saying? So you got to do what you're saying right now.
Right.
Then the next thing over there, they wasn't going to let, just like I watch Mike Maroney, those guys down there, whatever it is, I go up to 75 North and I watch them. I don't see nobody up there working like me. When we did the Blue Line Center, we told them that you can with the black contract. They gonna get the building. This is what we're doing. We had a plan. We worked it out of the Wesley House. We had the community over here. So what we got to do is, if you don't have the attitude, then you ain't gonna get anything. I already know that they done sold off the land. I know that the Metro Tech Community Housing Program is getting ready to do kick out so many houses you can't even see them. In other words, a prefab housing. They talk about it as a class, but that's what that is. I already know that South Omaha has Metro for the community program for teaching people how to do plumbing, electrical. Go over there and you just see it. I just happened to be walking through. I said, well, damn, here's the program right here. Okay, so what I'm basically saying, we got to get out and do research ourselves. The next thing, if you're going to run this damn community, you're going to have to come in here, brother, and we're going to have to get at this table, find out how what the mayor's job is, find out what the city. That means you're going to have to burn some oil. You're going to have to be sitting in this room for sometime for 2 and 3 hours a night. So when you walk out of here, and me and you going to get in a damn argument, and it's going to be like, hey, you got to protect your position, and I got to protect mine. So in other words, you just don't let me say anything. When I say it, I got to defend it. Guess what that's for? when I go to the city council, I
So
learn
that
how to
you
be
be
pro.
firm.
I'll be able to turn it either way. I
right.
got
Right.
to turn it.
So you
and
be
then
able
the
to
next
stand
thing over
on
here,
yours.
everybody's got to be able to be a spokesperson.
Right.
So in other words, they looking for me to speak. This brother might speak. They looking for a man to speak. A woman to speak. That's how we carry. And we
That's
be
right.
sincere about our community. We know that all the folks ain't here. We know the next thing that they done waited 50 years, so we got elders here now. So they just walk in and walk over them. Just take what they want. But we got to get the attitude, well, you ain't taking a damn thing here. You know,
Right.
if you deal with this brother, you got to deal with me. So that's how we
And
carry it.
that's
That's
what
what we're going to have to do again. Next thing over here is about finance and legality. It ain't about throwing no bricks and nothing else like
Yeah.
that. It's just sitting at the table learning how to negotiate for what you want for your community. Then the next thing over here, they know they wrong. They know that they didn't use this area here to bring the money and they took it somewhere else. Then that needs my legal folks saying, we looking at exactly what he's saying. That I'm looking over it and I got a lawsuit that I want to file anyway. So what you plan on doing?
Retribution.
When you
That's
guys
right.
are talking about the heat and all the
You
rest
don't
of
want
that
us
stuff.
to bring this, then you gonna
when
do
you were talking
this.
about the
Right.
the gas, that was they were supposed to have fixed those infrastructure. How long ago, Elijah?
70s.
70s. They got you paying those high bills because they didn't use the money for something else. When you see them doing the sewage program right now, that was supposed to be done what year? How long ago, Elijah?
1974.
Of 74. So now they got the whole damn city paying for it.
Yep.
So we got to know these things.
And if you're in a business, you pay twice as much as
So
the
we
resident.
got to know it, and we should, you know what we should be saying? That's your money. What did you do with our money? How come you ain't done it? But we got to have some people that can speak it. I asked you one thing before everybody came here, right? I said, when we getting ready to write grants, ain't there a school out there that you have to go to? As a matter of fact, you pay the money to go to the school to learn how to write the grant, and what do? They pay the money back to you, and you be able to go out and write grant. Because it's a language.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
I'm just, sometimes I don't say nothing, I just lay back.
No, I'm glad you've been so vocal. And I think that I was planning on this being about an hour and 15 minutes for us to get through an entire process, but there's obviously a lot more stuff to talk about and a lot of things that we could discuss to get a unified vision just amongst the people at this table. So I don't know if I can invite myself to the next meeting or the following meeting, or if we could create a subcommittee where we're developing a plan for advocacy.
That's
Because I will
Are you
right
willing
now,
to
like,
do? Are you willing to do that?
oh yeah, 100%. That's what I do. This is the fun part of my job. But so what I want to know right now is, what are a few things that stand out to you from the discussion that we had today? What are a few things that stand out?
Well, the only reason why the planning department wants that survey done is because Omaha Housing requested it. So
Are you talking about
The HUD.
the
Fair
HUD-
housing?
the HUD.
And I also, since we brought that up several times, I wanted to make sure everybody knew, because I doubt the city's told you, they're having a meeting on October 24th from 6:30 to 8:30,
Tuesday.
where they're asking what decisions we want them to make with the data. And right now, I'm Meredith Dillon, a new person in the planning department, is kind of spearheading it under a lot of people who aren't really our favorites.
Right.
But I think it would be nice to go test the boundaries. If some of the people in this room could go to the October 24th meeting at 6:30.
Does that mean they have the data?
They have the data compiled
Where is
from
it?
the Furthering Fair Housing Survey.
Where is it at?
Where did
Where's the data or the meeting?
Yes.
Is at the Scottish Rite Masonic Center
Right down 20th
on
and
South 20th Street.
20th and
And
Farnham.
Can I give a
Can we
this is
can
pure
we
example.
get access to this data before the meeting?
I
Is
can
there
definitely
a,
ask. I would think that probably would be the smart way to do it. Have people come informed rather than throw all the
I mean,
data
because
at
an
them.
hour is not enough time to
Right.
understand information that's being presented for the first time
I
and talk
completely-
about it.
I completely understand.
Oh,
But
yeah, we would
but
need that.
if
That need to be
the
happening.
only data that they got were based upon 3 specific activities that they put on, where there was no formal outlay. They met each individual at the door and had somebody to walk them through, give them their interpretation of the situation, ask what they thought about it, then had them tally down about what they think they should do about it. There was no past understanding of anything that was being talked about. The first thing that should be happening is challenging the legitimacy of that data.
Yeah.
Because it
We
has
have to go
no...
to the meeting to
You,
do
you
that.
can't challenge data if you don't have it.
Right.
That's not really
then-
the point.
So what we need is a plan.
Are you
to
saying
get-
after they show what they have to see if it's...
You
You
it's
should be
challenging?
asking for
He's
the
saying-
data
he's saying
beforehand.
Beforehand.
But he's saying false data ain't data anyway. If it's
For
already
whatever
used.
data that they're presenting, false or real.
We need to be able to attack that data, and the only way to do that is right now we need a plan on how we're going to get that data, so we'll know
Well, and
what
I-
to attack.
It might not be attackable. I mean,
Yeah.
it might not. It might be favorable. So I just want to know what the data is.
Yeah, and
because don't
I'm
know.
happy because I have a relationship with the person who's doing a lot of the work at the planning department on that. I'm happy to get the data from them, tell them that we want it, and I'll pass it along to Juanita to distribute it along with a flyer. But I have to get 3 action steps out of you right now on how we proceed from here.
Okay.
Do we want to do planning? What are your guys' ideas on what we do at the next meeting where I come and facilitate a talk?
We need to look into the legal action to challenge the city's relationship with HUD as it applies to this area.
I'd like to just see the planning that's going forward by the planning department
For
In this
what
area.
specifically?
and anything that has to do with our area. I haven't
Planning.
even seen the plans for 30th and Bedford. And I know they knocked down the building.
So it looks like so far we have two action steps and it's research. And I can get this stuff, and I know Juanita's had some stuff, some big comprehensive plans too. Has anyone ever heard of Palma, who works at Creighton? I just came across Fair Housing Advisory Services, and a guy from MAPPA told me about it. It's called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. And it's a huge case law review of what's been going on in North Omaha. And how I interpreted it was that this lawyer named Palma at Creighton has put together all the research that we would need to file a lawsuit. And I met her. I got to meet her the other day at something when we were talking about affordable housing.
Need to get that.
So I will give that to you guys all in advance of the next time.
Next time we meet tomorrow?
You want me tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow.
Sure, if you want. I'm up for it. But I do think it's
That works for
important
me.
as we go through this process that you keep coming back. Because as new people get added, you guys can help catch them up. But if you drop off, then that's what it's going to be. You guys are going to drop off, and it'll probably just be me and Juanita trying to push your plan forward. And since we're female,
Well, that's-
sometimes have a more difficult time.
That's why we have the tape. And anybody that wants to know what happened at the last
Yeah,
meeting, you
perfect.
get them in contact and we'll send them a copy of the tape.
That's wonderful. So we want to talk about legal action. Fortunately, I already have some really good data. We want to talk about plans that are already in place for the area. I know that there's plans on top of plans on top of plans.
I think our
I don't
goal
know if
should,
anyone looks at that,
Right.
but
if we were able to hit the right button on that first one, they would flag all plans after that to stop the money. That's automatic. HUD does that right off the top.
right. Okay, great.
Well,
And
I
then-
would like
yeah.
for the third thing, I would like for us as a group to start forming a plan to incorporate all of this that I've heard today into a policy. I don't think that we can probably do that immediately, but start at least so that we have a plan to override all these things that have happened in the past and stuff. This to set a plan that will allow us to counterpunch. You know, it's time to fight back Is
Yeah.
how I'm feeling about it, and set forth a plan that will allow us to counterpunch and sidestep some of this crap that they're doing, so that we can get closer
Yeah.
to the inside. You understand? And then you a couple of body punches and the head come down to where you at.
Good analogy.
You understand?
Or
Boxing. Boxing
poison
with
the
the
water.
Well, and I was a part of a process.
If
with-
we dead anyway, what difference did it make if the water poison?
Beer water.
I was a part of a really, really long, drawn-out planning process with In Common Community Development on Park Ave, and I saw what they were. I was just a part of it, so I could cherry pick pieces that I thought worked and did not work. So One Omaha is going to start doing neighborhood planning. It's going to be on a smaller scale, but we can definitely pilot with North 24th Street corridor. I'm
what's
happy
this-
to do that, but it's not going to happen overnight. It is going to take a lot of research. It's going to take showing up and keep on being vocal when you are here.
Okay.
What's this meeting called on the 24th?
It is called, it's probably something, Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Forum from 6:30 to 8:30, October 24th.
What's it for? They got data that they want feedback to us?
It says, join us for the next step in creating strategies to overcome challenges to fair housing. View the results of community meetings and the regional survey and vote for your top priorities.
When you go in and you sign that register will be used to say that you were the ones that okay for them to move forward with the plans they have. The best
Right.
thing that we could do is not show up and
see,
keep anybody else from showing up.
I don't think anyone will show up, honestly.
Well, that's what they
they'll
want.
probably have 10 people.
Yeah, right.
The 10 people are going to speak for you if you don't show up.
Yeah. And also, the city is going to say in 6 months from now, when we say, what did you use all that survey data for? And they say, oh, are these priorities? They're going to say, we gave you the opportunity to show up.
That's what they're going to
Well,
say.
we were having our discussion. It got brought up several times. That when things are happening and when decisions are being made, you need to hold a public meeting. And I know the public meeting's not going to be, or at least I'm making the negative assumption that the public meeting's probably not going to be a perfect situation, but at least it's something that they're offering us. And if we don't take up that opportunity, the next time something like this happens, they won't have a public meeting. Because they'll say, well, no one showed up to the one on the 24th, so why would we try to have another one?
And that was the Scottish.
Scottish Rite, or Scottish Masonic.
Scottish Masonic.
And
It's on Foreman and 20th Street.
I know.
One of the
Yeah, I
major
used to live
one of the major
right there.
difficulties
downtown.
Watchtower. Yeah.
one of the major difficulties this community has always had is something that even the city expressed, and that is the terrible parking conditions downtown. The majority of the people that are homeowners in our community are on the so-called elderly side. They are not going to come downtown,
Right.
park on the street, walk into a building, stay in there whatever amount of time, and then walk back out. That's why the numbers are always low, and that's why they do that. They everything that they do is purposeful to affect our community. Okay? When they want to have something done in other communities, they go to them and lay it out in front of them under their situation. Then they all rally and come in to put the stamp on it.
Right.
All right? We don't have that kind of leverage because we don't demand that kind of leverage. If they're going to hold that meeting, they need to hold that meeting somewhere like North High or somewhere in this community.
Right.
One of the schools, somewhere there's parking, and they're not worried about all of that, so the people will come and voice their opinion. They do not want that to happen. For us to keep falling into the same identical traps is foolish on our part. If they're going to have a meeting about North Omaha, that meeting needs to be in North Omaha.
That's right.
Exactly.
Very good.
I hear ya. And I completely full-heartedly agree.
But then that's our step. We don't want to come down there at nighttime to talk about what you already done laid out. We know it's a flim flam anyway.
Well, the only thing I would say, if we're going to start a new day, is that we need to go down there and tell them that we come to this meeting as a protest. We come here to let you know that this meeting, we already think that you rigged it against us, and that we need one in North Omaha on the same level. this meeting ain't for us. That's what we're gonna have to start doing if we're really serious about that.
Send a letter to the mayor and tell
So
her.
I think that this should be an action
We're gonna
that
have
we
to
do.
start setting our own agenda. Then you said you ready to meet again tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be here because I work nights. That's what I always tell folks. But if you're gonna set it and we're gonna get serious, then I will come. Okay? Because what we're gonna have to do is learn the process. Right now, ain't nobody gonna give us a damn thing. Excuse the expression.
Don't even want
And
it
what
to.
it's gonna do, it is just like it was 40 years ago. You're gonna have to take what you want.
Right.
Like
If
James
you really,
Brown
and if you
said.
really love North Omaha,
Right.
then you come here and you do that.
Right.
I don't. That's how we did. That's how we did the Blue Line Center. That's how we changed everything. Folks get mad at me because I'm always talking about what yesterday. I talk about yesterday in order for me to do something for today.
Right.
Okay? So if you ain't ready to do that, then you ain't ready to do nothing. Elijah's perfectly right. My thing is, like the brother said, you gonna post some dead. I ain't dead yet. I'm still up here. I still got a
That's
voice.
right.
Just not as strong as I used to be. Because the thing of it is, then the next thing of it is Elijah brought a point. We got elders here, so we go and speak for them. We've
Right.
always done that. We always have taken the position, hey, it's 5 of us, we're going to speak for this damn community.
That's right.
And that's how we carry.
Elijah has a good point. However, this meeting is going to go on October 24th with or without us.
Yeah.
Same like it's the same scenario when we talk about voting. Just because we don't have someone on the slate that we want doesn't mean that we take a backseat approach and stay at home and not go and vote.
We need to start developing an ongoing communication line, whoever the HUD representative is here, and be a pain in his or her butt.
But guess what?
HUD, all HUD has to do is push a button, and that stops all action. And that's what's going to happen as far as them having to get this April thing.
Right.
HUD done told them, no, you going to cover up. What did you do with the money before?
Right.
And they ain't asked nobody in the community what we think about the money before. They just a little flim-flam thing they did. And it was so arrogant how they did it, all right, that it's just a slap in our own face. They need to be slapped. And the only one that's going to slap them if they understand it is HUD. And the only one we can do that is whoever our HUD representative is, they need to tell us why they're allowing the city to keep on misusing this community with your money. That's the action we need to be taking right now.
And Elijah, I would submit to you that they're going to tell you that the city will be providing them with information that suggests that they've gotten the information that they needed from this community.
Then we need to talk to another representative. If a representative is saying that, then we need to talk to somebody else, because that ain't what I want to hear.
So if we're not at the table when these meetings are going on, they have the opportunity to...
Then we do what Carl said. We go in there as a protest. We go in the meeting, but we go in there as a protest because this is an illegal meeting.
I'll support that 100%.
That'll be the next action. We'll
That
be there,
should
but it's
be-
to tell this meeting is
That
illegal.
should be
I got a
the
question.
exact action that we
I
take.
want to know what Habitat for Humanity just finished doing.
Habitat for Humanities filled up 2/3 of their homes with loans. Under the guise that since you are a foreigner coming into this country, you're better not to have any credit at all than have bad credit, of which they know that the majority of this community has bad credit because they've been trying to live and survive under these horrid conditions for the last 150 years.
Right. And make sure we have back
Then
credit.
tell them about
Habitat for Humanity's got $280 some odd million to buy up property in this area, of which less than 15% of those are African Americans that traditionally lived in this area.
Terrible.
And what was the part about if you have just one strike against you can't get...
When he made, I've got it on tape. What's the guy with the land bank?
Marty.
When Marty made his presentation, his final one, he ain't made one since then. He laid out all the things that would cause you not to be eligible to buy a home.
Yes.
Every last one of those are standard situations with any family that has lived in this community.
Right. So
So that's why you have
So you may not do
gentrification means to remove the historical population out of that area and move in a whole new population. That's what gentrification does. So for a young brother who middle income to look me in the eye, and I asked him, "Do you think gentrification is in place?" He said, "Yes," just like that.
Because he knows
He caught me so far off guard I couldn't believe it. He said, "Yes."
Yes.
Then if you understand that, then why are you going through the mechanisms that you are going through to establish a situation that is already being laid out for another population to move and take over this community?
Because you want it to stop.
Because he got a job.
Right, that's his job.
Period. That's why he did it, because he got a job. And we're at the point now that we can't. They don't play this game fair because they make the rules up, and when it comes to us, we read our book and it ain't the same book. Oh, we sent you out a copy, but obviously you didn't get it. All right, and we go for that. Okay, now there's only a few left in this area that are hurting from it, and these people have invested money. I mean, their property and everything is being. Go down and check. Can I take this? Go down and check the amount of legal action that has been taken against people in this community because of pets. Absolutely unbelievable, particularly dogs. They're making so much money off of us because of our dogs and how we've had to raise our dogs, because we had dogs in our backyards all that period of time when they wouldn't do anything to keep other people from coming in and stealing all you got.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, without any kind of notice, you have 5 or 6 different populations that the first thing that they put up were fences. They put the fences up almost before they put the homes up. Okay? Mm-hmm. That when walking down the streets, if you got a pit bull or something that runs up to your gate or something like that, they go back home and call the Humane Society and say they got a vicious animal.
Right. That runs up.
All right? That runs up and tries to attack me.
Mm-hmm.
That's $120 a whop. All right? Neighborhood organizations have gotten no documentation on any types of ways now to handle community activity as it relates to new types of ways to take care of certain kind of situations in your neighborhoods. You understand what I'm saying? All right? We've had to have dogs in our community to protect our own, because you can call the police and they won't get to it 20 minutes later if they come at all. That's historical. That's been that way for the last 30 years. Now all of a sudden you got a population that has moved in less than a year and a half, where you got close to 300 or 400 different families in less than a year and a half period of time. All these people are moving next door to where these things are, and they don't even understand why you got a dog. There ain't no communication about it. But when they call, the Humane Society comes out, gives you a ticket, and you got to go to court or pay the ticket beforehand. $120 a whop. Little things like that is what I'm talking about. It's already done. We're not talking about something that's happening anymore. This deal is done and in its place. Even to the point, and y'all ain't gonna never understand this piece, even to the point that Creighton University has taken their emblem seal and pointed it north for the first time in over 60 years. Y'all don't understand that one, do you?
Yeah, we do. What?
I'm listening to everything that you say, Eliza.
They have an emergency hospital that has 4 entries on this side of Cummins Street.
Oh, okay, they cross Cummins
4 entries.
Street. Right, that used to be the...
All right? And those entries are utilized by appointments. You're told what entry to go to. You don't understand that one, do you?
Oh, yeah, I understand it. But,
Can I ask you,
brother, I would like to ask you to, I really appreciate you telling me about these things, but I would like to ask you to help formulate a plan to eventually stop some of this crap.
Only thing that's going to stop it in our time.
The only thing that's
going to stop it in our time is the legal action. It's a done deal. They have to go back retrospect. You can't do nothing with this. That's done. You have to go back and stop what's already in place.
It has to, in order for us to legally, and that is a considerable way to do this, but the only way we can do that is we have to have all those things that you were telling me about. It has to be documented.
That's why in 2017 it is absolutely ludicrous for any people to walk around with signs talking about humanity.
Hey.
Okay.
If you ever see me walking
but you're verbalizing,
around
no disrespect, no disrespect, but you're verbalizing the same thing.
No, I'm not. You cannot present a suit without documenting everything. You have to have documentation to present a
But he's
legal.
saying they're so arrogant. They're so arrogant now. The documentation, they done it for you. Like everything that they've done is documented.
And that's what we should be
But they're so arrogant in thinking that you'll never uncover, you'll never expose it, you'll never. They done all the documentation. You know what I'm saying? When I listen to him talk, they're like, we're going to do this meeting. Even when they did the urban, money came in for urban development, and it came in under that umbrella, but it went somewhere else, or it was distributed somewhere else. They still, because of city appropriation funds, they still have to show appropriation for where the money went. So they done all the documenting. That's what he's saying. But at the same time, on the language they understand, it's lawsuit. I understand.
I understand. I agree with the lawsuit.
It wasn't spent in the community because nothing happened in the
And nothing
community.
changed, right?
Right.
Now all that money came in with the little money came in. Fair deal was more money than, and it was a quarter of the money than all the money came in prior to. And Fair Deal was one of the most development things that was done in North Omaha in the last 15 years. I know that not even being from there.
And the majority of that money still came out of their corporation, not HUD money.
Right.
That's right.
I know.
That's
That
right.
always astounds me.
He has the question. Then what?
Here's my question. I'm here right in this room because I'm a developer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be, but I don't look at myself as a profit is the only motive developer.
Mm-hmm.
So I have.
Obviously.
He's being
So
facetious. Go ahead.
before you die, what do you want to see 24th Street look like?
Before I die, what I wanted to look like?
What's your best case scenario? What do you want to see this look like?
I personally don't care because it's a done deal. All right?
It's not.
Yeah, it is because, don't take this personal, you're the only developer in this room.
I know.
The reason you're in is because you're a developer.
And calling myself a developer is a stretch.
I know, but even at that, you have the wherewithal to pretend until it's done. Okay? We don't have any of that. All right?
I feel like that's a disenfranchised mentality.
That's because
That's a mentality of defeat.
that's because you've never been disenfranchised.
I haven't.
Right.
And I'm 36 and I've
But you've come into a community that has been disenfranchised from the day it was developed. Okay? When I say the two generations,
Is there no hope?
listen, no, not really. When you talk about the historical significance of this area, it was based upon disenfranchisement. Because of the segregation laws of 1913, the Hebrews that had populated buildings on 14th and Dodge were forced to move into this area because a tornado had come through and they couldn't. Because they were Hebrews, they were considered as black. Even though they were light-skinned, they were still considered as blacks. All right? We, not understanding the full culture, just accepted them as being Jews because we were of the ignorance thinking that Judaism was a nationality as opposed to religion. All right? So the whole culture of this area is predicated on disenfranchisement. And it has never been so-called free. Never, ever. Until it has been transgraded into where it is right now, where only 40% of the traditional population lives in this area. That's why you were able to come in and buy the Carnation Ballroom, all right? Because there wasn't nobody else around here that had the wherewithal to do that. All right? When Cardwell bought the building, he got it for nothing. Isn't that that's what Cardwell? Criswell. Okay. So it's a whole new ball game. Same thing with the Blue Lion Center. All right. It's all nice and good to come in and put it in, but it has nothing to do with the cultural significance of the area. Nothing.
call the meeting.
Well, I have to go to my next meeting, but I was wondering, so I have time to do my homework and get information on these things
Creighton piece is
distributed.
key.
Totally.
Yep.
And I gotta meet her. She's awesome.
Yes.
But could we meet the 23rd?
It's too far away.
It's the day before this meeting. It's the only Monday that really
Oh, is it
works.
Monday?
It's a Monday,
I have no problem.
Call a special.
I'll do it. I'll be here.
the 23rd,
Yeah, I
same
have
time.
I have
I
no
want I
problem.
need to ask you a question. In your research, how far can you go back to on the city? When Elijah?
Yeah.
When did we start our organization? When did
24
we
Lane Emergency?
when we did the program for the comprehensive plan that we did for 24th and Lake Street? We put the blue lines in.
84.
84.
They probably have it.
Can we go? But I've asked for it several times because there's a plan that we put when we had all 14 neighborhood groups that they were using in the.
I will. I'll ask. I'll see if I can get it because there's a guy in the planning department that's nice to me. So I'll ask
There's a
him.
book about that too.
What do you think it's called?
It's called North of Mahoney Dog.
North Ohio Development Plan.
Like KAY?
Be hard.
84.
It's gonna be hard.
They don't want.
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be hard getting your hands on it.
Oh, I bet they don't because if they see what you guys said you wanted in the 80s and that nothing has been done, it will reflect very poorly on them.
I'm saying that I know that they use that to get block grant money to come back.
Always had
I'm
that.
sure they did.
So if we can't get it here, how come we can't get it in DC?
Right.